Hi and welcome to the Signal Watch. Happy holidays. This episode's going to be a little bit off theme from the rest of the 2019 offerings, so, just enjoy it. This episode's also just going to be a little shorter. It's intended to be just a little extra Christmas bonus treat, a little stocking stuffer from us to you. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Now, we're going to try to make this work. Hey, and welcome back to the Signal Watch. Happy holidays. We're doing an off-theme episode here for 2019. So, welcome.
Hello, Simon Day here. Again, Merry Christmas. Yeah, to paraphrase John Houseman very badly from The Start of the Fog, just time for one last Christmas movie before midnight. So we're doing Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, made in 2010, a Finnish Christmas movie.
Right. It was super fun.
You liked it?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Because this was the first time you've seen it.
Yeah, it was nuts, but it was... and the thing that surprised me about it was, honestly, I was expecting a Splatterfest.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Nothing's a PG. I think it's a PG-13, maybe.
You could easily watch it with your older kids.
Yeah, totally. It's probably actually less scary than Gremlins, probably.
Yes.
But it's got a wonderful kind of... not just a very, very dark sense of humour, but also it's kind of like doom-laden atmosphere. Very kind of like it kind of builds very nicely, I think. Oh,
the sense of tension in it is fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, like you say, you don't actually see anything bad, but there's always the chance that something bad could happen at any minute, which not a lot of directors can maintain, I don't think.
Yeah, it does a lot of the things that you're familiar with from other movies, like it's a kid figures out something's up and the adults aren't listening to them for like the length of the movie until they realize, oh, the kid's onto something.
Totally. Well, actually it reminds me of 80s movies like The Goonies kind of, or Last Starfighter, you know. You kind of seen it from the kid's perspective, especially the first half.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, so the background of this is very, very kind of scant information. I was trying to dig around last night and not coming up with much. I was just like watched lots of reviews of guys going, that was great but weird. With not much information. But basically, so there was a short film in 2003 called Rare Exports Inc., which very early days of the internet did a short film. It was kind of popular. They made a sequel in 2005 called Rare Exports, The Official Safety Instructions, which kind of like, and both of those bled into this film. This is basically like an amalgamation of those. And that was shown at film festivals. Took a while to get funding because a lot of studios were it's kind of interesting, but I don't know if people would want to watch this. Finally managed to get some backing. Just $2 million, I think, it cost. Which I think for that amount of money, it looks absolutely amazing.
I was absolutely shocked you just said that number. I was expecting like 25-30 million on this.
Yeah, I mean, they one nice thing is they really spent their time on this. I was reading that they used a little bit of CGI, but a lot of practical effects. It took 17 days to shoot the movie, but then they spent 200 days in post-production just making sure it looked good. Which is a huge amount of time. That never happens anymore. I mean, I'm sure, even the last Star Wars that's just come out probably had nothing like that. So it kind of cost roughly the same as a sci-fi movie. I saw it in 2010, so it was released December the 3rd, 2010. It was released apparently in one US theatre. And I'm like, was that the Alamo, the Old South Lamar Alamo? But then it was expanded to 21 theatres. Okay. So I might have seen it once it was expanded, or I might have seen it in the first theatre that it was ever shown at.
That's wild. Okay.
And I remember going at the time with my partner, and she was, didn't really trust my choice. But she kind of liked it. And I think she kind of liked it because, like you say, she was expecting a horror movie, and she kind of got, kind of almost like a kind of friendly, family-friendly kind of twist on the family-friendly movie. But I remember when I saw it, there was no advertising. I kept talking to people about it, and they were like, "What?" And even trying to buy the DVD and Blu-ray years later, I remember initially you couldn't get hold of it. Then when you could get hold of it, it was very expensive. And I think it's only been the last couple of years it's kind of come down to $20, $15, like affordable, and availability a bit better.
Yeah, I remember it being at the Alamo because my brother and I had intended to go see it, and then we just didn't, as happens. And so I had actually assumed this was a movie that had a much wider release. That was my theater of choice at the time.
Yeah.
So I remember them showing a few trailers for it there, and us going, "Yeah, we need to go see that." So that's really interesting. So yesterday I was in the kitchenette on the last day of work before the holiday, and someone asked me what I was going to do, and I was like, "Well, I'm watching Rare Exports," and like, "Well, what's that?" I was like, "Well, I believe it's a movie about like Santa's actually a monster, and he's been buried under a mound for like 1,000 years or something, and they dig him up, and chaos ensues." And everyone was just staring at me, and I was like, "You've not heard of this?"
I'm not just imagining this. Well, you obviously know why I like this, because you got a bunch of guys with beards in a snowy climate digging something up that they shouldn't. What does that remind you of? But yeah, I mean, Christmas horror. We've had, I guess, in the past, Black Christmas, and I think a new version of that's out now. We've got Silent Night, Deadly Night. We've got Gremlins. You and I went to see the Krampus a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, which is fun. I would, but definitely like not for the kids.
Yeah, a little bit more sweary and stuff. And actually, I got to give a shout out to Anna and the Apocalypse, which I don't know if you've seen that, but
no, it's actually I'm planning to watch it between now and Christmas. So.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to see that if you haven't, because I went into that very dubious because it looked like an episode of Glee, but it turns out to be a lot better than I thought, and a little bit nastier. But yeah, what I love about this film is, like you say, it kind of plays with your expectations. And I just like little bits in it, just like the guy finding his wife's hairdryer again. So just stuff like that. It's like, because there's not a lot of dialogue, and there's not that much plot.
No.
But it's more like a mood piece, really, I think. You just kind of let it flow over you. It's like an ambient movie a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, it uses enough shorthand kind of character and story wise to where they don't have to say much, because they're anything that they're like, well, you basically get it, you've seen other movies, they like let that just kind of go. And so when characters do have moments, like the gingerbread breakfast, I think, with the son and dad,
he's burnt the thing.
But it works really well. They're having a moment where the father's actually just totally desperate because they're one of the, you can tell
we know
some
the
people
mum's dead probably, but there's no exposition. It's just you don't have to kind of like go, well, it's been 3 years since mum died,
which American movies absolutely would have made sure they did. But yeah, it's about a bunch of people who are living basically on the border with Russia in Finland, way up in Lapland, and kind of eking out an existence. And
I was also thinking, actually, sorry to interrupt, but I was just thinking it's also a very male-centric film, which...
No women in it, yeah.
Yeah. These days, I don't know if that would get a slap on the wrist. I don't think it should for this, because I think that plays into it a little bit. The fact that this is almost like a male, father-son thing, but also like, a male kind of relationship thing between adult friends. But then also, how Father Christmas is obviously this kind of big paternal figure, but is he a benevolent one, or is he like a kind of, evil one?
Yeah, now that you say it, I mean, the movie definitely plays with that and kind of how the kid is seeing his father throughout the course of the movie of like, am I in trouble? Am I not in trouble?
Do I deserve being spanked? Or please spank me so I don't get taken away.
Yeah. And, there's a kind of the one of those things that would have been treated almost in a Disney sort of way. That like the kid's very clever as well. This has nothing to do with the father and son thing when he said the spanking thing of like the kid armors himself up with his hockey pads. And
I love how he's like got tape all over his ass.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, and he says to his friend at some point, do you want some bum protection? His friend's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so basically the movie pitches that Santa was a lot like Krampus.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Horns.
And he would show up and stick kids in boiling oil and spank them and throw them in rucksacks.
Tear them apart,
yeah. And at some point, the Sami people of northern Finland got sick of it, trapped him, and buried him under this mound. And now this crazy American has shown up who looks like Ebenezer Scrooge, who's decided he's going to unearth
He actually looks like a
Santa.
villain from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's like, we have to rob this tomb, you know?
Very much so. I mean, and that's part of the shorthand of the whole thing. He's wearing like a huge fur coat and has like his little glasses perched on the end of his nose, and he's, I've been looking for this since I was a child, sort of thing. And of course, the people who are working for him are like, "Yeah, man, we don't know why we're out here. Like, this is absolutely bananas." But
what did you think of the twist? Because when I saw this the first time, I liked how initially you thought the elf was Father Christmas or Santa, and then suddenly you realised, oh wow, actually, he's just an elf.
I mean, I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was like, it gives you this like, oh no sort of moment of like, he's a human, they have rifles, no matter how magical he is, unless he starts like, passing through walls or whatever, which, it's Santa, who knows what they're going to do. But it seemed very grounded in some sort of physicality. And so, I thought that was a really, really smart twist. And then, of course, you're like, well, what's Santa going to be like after we've seen all these drawings? And
well, also with the elves, so, and this might be explained in the short movies, but I felt like he had an ID on him. So at some point he was a normal guy born in 1952, and I'm like, so has he kind of been almost like joined a cult and become a kind of elf?
I think the suggestion was those guys were transformed into looking like Santa, or as we think of like mall Santa.
So they're almost like dispossessed, or the homeless who have mutated into these things.
I mean, my assumption was this: you see the guys getting carted away, you see their helmets like spilling all over the place, but you don't see bodies. There's never any blood.
That's a good point.
So that was my assumption from the movie.
So almost been taken over, possessed a little bit.
And I don't know if it's like contagious or what the suggestion actually is, but it to the point. I mean, it matters. It doesn't really matter to the movie. It more too, if we're totally spoiling it, the ending of it's super weird.
Well, it's also a bit shocking because massive spoiler, but they get rid of Santa fairly easily. They just blow him up. Which was slightly disappointing, but at the same time, I'm not sure how they could have had him move around, I guess. I don't think that would have really worked, so I guess this was like the best thing to do. I
mean, part of me was like, okay, they've kind of done this. I didn't think about this until after the movie, but which we just watched 10 minutes ago, but I was thinking, well, maybe if they did get money for a sequel off this, then Santa, I mean, you just bring him back, and he comes and gets his horns.
He grow back from the horns or something, like the creeping flesh kind of thing.
And now you have Santa scattered all over, the elves scattered all over the planet at the end of the movie.
And it is a bit weird that it's called Rare Exports, and that's only the last 2 minutes where they're training them quite hilariously to be mall Santas. So like one of them like gets disinterested and drops his fake child, and they're like, no, don't do that. And he's like, ooh, So that's kind of great, but it's kind of weird that that's the last.
I did have a thought when you first saw Santa's horns coming out of the ice cube. That was when I was like, what? Why is this called Rare Exports? What's gonna like? I couldn't figure out what the story was. I was just like, or is this gonna be one of those things of it's just what it's called?
I mean, it is very much the last old cherry on the top. It doesn't play much of a part in it, but I do like the whole thing about these guys are doing this because the reindeer, which was going to be their money, are killed by the elves initially. And just there's so many great little bits in this, like the use of the gingerbread. which kind of perks up like an unconscious elf. Brings him back to being interested in stuff.
I was actually got really hungry for gingerbread while we were watching the movie because everyone's just chawing on it through the whole film.
And the list of what not to do: don't swear, don't smoke, definitely don't drink alcohol. And all the workers are like, what the fuck is this? And then of course, as soon as they swear, they get taken out.
It's great.
So that was all great. Yeah. No, I totally recommend it. I mean, so it made 200,000 in the US, but it made 4 million worldwide. Unsurprisingly, most of that from Finland.
Sure. Which actually for Finland, which is a very low population country, that's not bad.
I mean, it must have been like Star Wars over there, I guess, when it came out. But I love it. And the sad thing is, so the director of this, just the thought of watching this again with you today made me go, what else has this guy done? And so I hunted out, and I remember that actually, about 5 years ago now, he made Big Game with Samuel Jackson, which is a little bit Olympus Has Fallen, a little bit White House Down, a little bit Escape from New York. Samuel Jackson, the president, is shot down from Air Force One over Lapland. And I guess Ted Boyle.
He's doing everything he can to bring the film industry to totally inhospitable territory. I appreciate that.
Got to support my film industry, my local film industry. But it's like he gets shot down. He's being chased by terrorists, and he was trying to finish off the job. And he bumps into the same kid who's in this, who's obviously a little bit older now. It's probably early teens. And the two of them fight off terrorists and try to get back to civilization. And it kind of sounds like a kind of kid-friendly Die Hard, or I should say Die Hard sequel these days, but a kid-friendly Die Hard. But I watched the trailer. It looks pretty good. I think I'm going to try to hunt it down.
Yeah, we should totally watch it. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah. But that's the only other thing he's done. So I'm like, give this dude some money. And, but don't do a David Fincher with Alien 3. Don't second guess him. Just let him do something.
Right.
On a big budget and see what happens, because I think he's got an amazing eye.
Oh yeah, it's a really, really well shot movie. I mean, he's able to really capture a lot of just the natural beauty of the area he's shooting in. But as you said, it kind of has this, I don't want to say otherworldly feel, but it's definitely a feeling of like desolation and this is not a place where things are going super well for these people.
And that's a rough life, and it's like you kind of feel cold watching it. I mean, you feel like blimey. There's a scene where the kid's running around just in his like white fronts. I'm like, dude, you need to put some pants on. It's like freezing.
Well, I mean, in all fairness to it, forewarn you before you watch the movie, there's like 100 and something naked old men in this movie running through the snow.
I was about to say, and this might be a plus for grandma if you watch it as a family, but there's more old men dicks in this than I've ever seen or want to see in any other film, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's fair to warn people about before you sit down with the kids, but
the beards don't cover enough. Put it that way.
It won't go so far. But that was just like, oh my god, these poor guys. I can't imagine.
It's artistically done. And it's European, so you let it off. But me.
But yeah, I mean, Finlanders. My grandparents are both from Finland on my mom's side, and so I always get a little. You don't hear much about Finland in the United States, obviously, and it's always interesting to see what comes out. I feel like you're getting like messages from Krypton or something when you see something like, I don't understand my people.
Yeah. Well, this is all about hunting. I mean, it is kind of American in a way, because it's all about hunting. And, this is like how they survive, and they sell the meat of the reindeers. It's almost like a little bit Westernish, a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, definitely they're corralling reindeer at the beginning, or attempting to. And that's one of the big thing that sets them off is it turns out the elves. You think it's just Santa killing all the reindeer.
I think it's wolves, don't they, originally?
Right.
So, yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting film. It's
It's got a nice
good one to slide in if you are kind of had it with the Hallmark movies and schmaltz and whatnot, but it doesn't take it so far if you're like, I don't want to watch a splatter movie, around Christmas.
I mean, I think we've said before, but like every Christmas, I kind of normally, my default settings are Die Hard and Gremlins and Love Actually. And, the last few years, It's a Wonderful Life has kind of joined that. But actually, this Christmas particularly, I've watched a huge amount of Christmas films. I've actually watched about 20 odd, I think, at this point.
Holy cow. Well done.
Yeah, I started early. I started a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. But this one, I kind of, even though I own it, I kind of forget about it. But I'm always happy once I do make an effort to watch it, because it just is so different, And I think, like you said about the Hallmark, it's funny because like one person I was watching last night kind of said, after all those Hallmark, snow machines, it's great watching this and seeing like a real location, and real people kind of like, going about their lives. It's not the same actress, having to, go and tell the factory they've got to make cuts or whatever that you told me. So I totally recommend it. Give it a chance. It's nice and short as well, 90 minutes. Doesn't outstay its welcome.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Anyway, we just wanted to drop one last Christmas treat for you guys. I know it's off theme from the year, but hey, we did pretty good this year, I think, on sticking to the theme.
Totally. Yeah.
So anyway, happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, and see you in the new year.
That about wraps it up for this edition of The Signal Watch, a production of the League of Melbotus. Thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to drop on by the Signal Watch blog, where you'll find write-ups of a wide variety of movies and more. You can drop comments on this podcast and let us know what you think. We do have a Signal Watch Patreon, and if you're so moved, we'd most certainly appreciate your support. We'll be back soon with more exceedingly high-quality content. So, until next time, God damn it, babies. You've got to be kind.